Dinner with my alien girlfriend's family turned into an intergalactic engagement ceremony asterisk. The invitation. Jake Morrison had always considered himself an ordinary guy. He worked at a local tech startup, lived in a modest apartment downtown, and spent his weekends hiking or reading science fiction novels. His life changed dramatically 3 months ago when he met Zara at a coffee shop. During his lunch break, Zara was breathtaking in a way that made Jake question everything he thought he knew about beauty. Her skin had an almost luminescent quality, shifting between pale ivory and soft silver depending on the light. Her eyes were an impossible shade of violet that seemed to hold entire galaxies within them. When she spoke, her voice carried a melodic quality that made even mundane conversations feel like poetry. What struck Jake most wasn't just her otherworldly appearance, but how she seemed to understand him on a level no one ever had. She laughed at his terrible jokes, shared his passion for astronomy, and had an uncanny ability to know exactly what he was thinking before he said it. Their relationship had blossomed quickly, moving from casual coffee dates to spending entire weekends together. "Jake," Zara said one evening as they watched the sunset from his apartment balcony, "I need to tell you something important about my family." He turned to face her, noting the slight tension in her shoulders. "What about them? You've barely mentioned them since we started dating." Zara's fingers fidgeted with the hem of her dress, a nervous habit he'd grown to recognize. "My family is traditional, very traditional. They've been asking to meet you, and I can't put it off much longer." "That's great. I'd love to meet them." Jake reached for her hand, surprised by how cold it felt. "Are you worried they won't like me?" A strange smile crossed Zara's lips. "It's not about liking you, Jake. My family has certain expectations, certain customs that might seem unusual to you." "Unusual how?" "Promise me you'll keep an open mind tomorrow night, no matter what happens. Remember that I care about you deeply." Jake felt a flutter of nervousness in his stomach. "Tomorrow night? You didn't mention we had plans." "My parents invited us for dinner. It's at their estate outside the city." Zara's violet eyes seemed to glow brighter in the fading light. "They're very excited to meet the man who's captured my heart." The way she said it made Jake's pulse quicken, but there was something in her tone that he couldn't quite identify. "Should I bring anything? Flowers for your mother? Wine?" Zara shook her head quickly. "No gifts. Just yourself and Jake." She turned to face him fully, her hands cupping his face. "Whatever happens tomorrow, know that what we have is real. What I feel for you is real." Before he could ask what she meant, she kissed him with an intensity that made his head spin. When they parted, Jake noticed her skin had taken on a more pronounced silver sheen, and her eyes seemed to pulse with an inner light. "You're so beautiful," he whispered, still amazed that someone like her had chosen him. "Beauty is relative," she replied cryptically. "What matters is compatibility, harmony, the alignment of souls across the vastness of space and time." Jake laughed softly. "You always say the most poetic things. It's like you're from another world." Zara's expression grew serious. "Jake, there's something you need to understand about me, about my family. We're not exactly what you think we are." "What do you mean?" She was quiet for a long moment, watching the first stars appear in the darkening sky. "Tomorrow night, you'll understand everything. My parents will explain it all." As Jake held her close, watching the city lights twinkle below them, he couldn't shake the feeling that his life was about to change in ways he couldn't imagine. The woman in his arms felt both familiar and mysterious, like a beautiful riddle he was only beginning to solve. The estate drive to Zara's family estate took them far from the city, through winding mountain roads Jake had never traveled before. As they climbed higher, the air grew thinner, and the stars seemed impossibly bright overhead. Zara had been unusually quiet during the journey, her hands folded in her lap, her violet eyes reflecting the dashboard lights. "Are you okay?" Jake asked, glancing at her as he navigated another sharp curve. "You seem nervous." "I'm fine," she replied, but her voice lacked its usual musical quality. "I'm just thinking about how to explain everything to you." "Explain what?" "You're making this sound like some kind of interrogation instead of a family dinner." Zara turned to look at him, and in the darkness of the car, Jake could swear her eyes were glowing more brightly than usual. "My family has been waiting to meet you for a very long time." Jake, longer than you might think possible, before he could ask what she meant. They crested a hill and Jake's breath caught in his throat. Ahead of them stood the most magnificent structure he'd ever seen. It wasn't quite a house, nor was it exactly a mansion. The building seemed to flow organically from the mountainside itself, its walls appearing to be made of some kind of crystalline material that caught and reflected the starlight in impossible ways. "Zara, this is incredible. What kind of architecture is this? I've never seen anything like it." "It's family tradition," she said quietly. "We've always built our homes to harmonize with the natural environment." As they approached the entrance, Jake noticed that the building seemed to pulse with a soft, rhythmic light, almost like a heartbeat. The door opened before they could knock, revealing a tall, elegant woman who shared Zara's otherworldly beauty, but with silver hair that seemed to move like liquid mercury. "Mother," Zara said, her voice carrying a note of respect and something that might have been fear. "Zara, my darling child." The woman's voice was like wind chimes in a gentle breeze. She turned her attention to Jake, and he felt as though she were looking directly into his soul. "And you must be Jake Morrison, born October 15, 1992, in Seattle, Washington, son of Robert and Linda Morrison. Graduated from University of Washington with a degree in computer science." Jake's mouth dropped open. "How did you—" "I'm Lyrale, Zara's mother. Please come inside. We have much to discuss." The interior of the house defied physics. The rooms seemed larger than the outside structure could possibly contain, and the walls glowed with the same soft, pulsing light they'd seen from outside. Strange symbols floated in the air like holograms, rearranging themselves as the family moved through the space. "Jake," came a deep voice from behind them. Jake turned to see a man who was clearly Zara's father, tall and imposing with the same violet eyes and silver-touched hair. "I am Korthuk. Welcome to our home. Thank you for having me." "Sir, this place is amazing. How long has it been in your family?" Korthuk and Lyrale exchanged a look that Jake couldn't interpret. "Our family has maintained this dwelling for approximately 300 of your Earth years." Korthuk replied matter-of-factly. Jake laughed nervously. 300 years? That's quite a family legacy." "Jake," Zara said softly, taking his hand. "My parents need to tell you something important about who we are, where we come from, and why we're here." They moved into what appeared to be a dining room, though the table seemed to be carved from a single piece of what looked like glowing moonstone. As they sat down, Jake noticed that the chairs adjusted themselves perfectly to his body without any visible mechanism. "Before we begin," Lyrale said, "I want you to know that what we're about to share with you will change your understanding of everything you thought you knew about the universe, about life, and about your place in it." Jake looked around the table at the three faces watching him intently. "Okay, I'm listening." Korthuk leaned forward, his violet eyes intense. "Jake Morrison, we are not from your world. We are travelers from a star system you call Vega, and we have been observing your species for centuries." The words hung in the air like a challenge to reality itself. Jake felt his world tilt on its axis as he processed what he'd just heard. "You're saying you're aliens. We prefer the term interdimensional beings," Lyrale corrected gently. "And Jake, there's something else you need to know. This dinner isn't just a family meeting. According to our customs, by accepting our invitation and entering our home, you've agreed to participate in something much more significant." Jake's heart began to race. "What kind of participation?" Zara squeezed his hand tighter. "A bonding ceremony, Jake. In my culture, when a vegan finds their chosen mate, the family gathering serves as both introduction and engagement ritual." The revelation. Jake's fork clattered to his plate as the weight of Zara's words sank in. "Engagement ritual? Zara, we've been dating for 3 months. Don't you think we should talk about this first?" Korthuk's expression remained serene, but Jake caught a flicker of something amusement in his violet eyes. "Jake Morrison, do you believe in fate?" What does that have to do with anything, everything?" Lyrale interjected, rising from her chair. As she moved, Jake noticed that her feet didn't quite seem to touch the ground. "You see, Jake, our people don't simply fall in love randomly. We are guided by cosmic forces, by the alignment of consciousness across space and time." Jake turned to Zara. searching her face for some sign that this was an elaborate joke. "Zara, please tell me you're not serious about this." "I've never been more serious about anything in my life," she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. "Jake, when I first saw you in that coffee shop, I felt a recognition that went beyond anything I'd ever experienced. It was like finding a piece of my soul that had been missing. That's called attraction, Zara. It's not some cosmic destiny." Korthik stood and walked to what Jake had assumed was a window. With a gesture, the wall became transparent, revealing not the mountain landscape Jake expected, but a vast star field with swirling galaxies and nebulae. "Your scientists are beginning to understand quantum entanglement, Jake, the idea that particles can be connected across vast distances, influencing each other instantaneously." Jake stared at the impossible view, his mind reeling. "How are you doing that?" "The same way we've been monitoring your world for centuries. The same way we identified you as Zara's intended mate before she was even born." Before she was. Jake stood abruptly, his chair sliding backward without a sound. "This is insane. You're telling me you've been watching me my entire life." "Not watching," Lyrale corrected, moving to stand beside her husband. "Waiting. Your soul's resonance frequency has been known to us for generations. We've been waiting for you to reach emotional and spiritual maturity." Zara rose from her seat, and as she did, her appearance began to shift. Her skin took on a more pronounced luminescent quality, and Jake could see faint patterns of light moving beneath the surface like living circuitry. "Jake, I know this is overwhelming, but please try to understand. What we have isn't just love, it's a biological and spiritual imperative." "Biological imperative," Jake's voice cracked. "Are you saying you only care about me because of some alien breeding program?" "No." Zara's eyes flashed brighter, and for a moment, Jake felt a wave of emotion that wasn't his own, her desperation, her genuine affection, her fear of losing him. "Jake, what I feel for you is real, but it's also part of something larger. Our species is dying. We need genetic diversity, but more than that, we need the unique qualities that humanity possesses." Korthik turned from the star window, his expression grave. "Your species has something we lost long ago, Jake. The ability to feel deeply, to create art, to love without logic. Our advanced technology came at a cost. We became irrational, to detach from emotion. So you want to use me as some kind of emotional breeding stock. We want to save both our species," Lyrale said firmly. "The bonding between human and vegan consciousness creates something unprecedented. Children who possess both technological advancement and emotional depth." Jake looked around the room at the three alien faces watching him with varying degrees of hope and concern. "And if I refuse?" Silence stretched between them like a chasm. Finally, Zara spoke, her voice barely audible. "Then I'll respect your choice, and we'll modify your memories of this evening. You'll remember a lovely dinner with my eccentric family. Nothing more. You can do that. Just erase my memories." Korthik nodded solemnly. "It would be painful for all of us, but yes, we won't force you into a bond you don't want." Jake sank back into his chair, his head spinning. "I need a minute to process this. You're asking me to marry into an alien family, possibly have children with someone from another planet, and commit to helping save the species. We're asking you to follow your heart," Zara said, reaching across the table to touch his hand. "The bond between us, don't you feel it? The way we understand each other, the way we fit together." Jake couldn't deny the connection he felt with Zara from their first conversation. It had been effortless, natural, like they'd known each other forever. "I do feel it," he admitted, "but this is a lot to take in." "The ceremony doesn't have to happen tonight," Lyrale said gently. "But if you're willing to consider it, we'd like to show you what the bond truly means. What you'd be gaining, not just giving up." Jake looked at Zara, studying her beautiful alien features. "Show me how." The bond. Zara stood and extended her hand to Jake, her skin now glowing with soft bioluminescent patterns that pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat. "In our culture, before the formal bonding ceremony, there's a tradition called the melding of minds. It allows to consciousness to temporarily merge, to truly understand each other at the deepest level." Jake hesitated, staring at her outstretched hand. "Is it safe?" "Completely," Korthik assured him. Think of it as the ultimate form of empathy. You'll experience her thoughts, her emotions, her memories, and she'll experience yours. It's how we determine true compatibility. And if we're not compatible, Lyrale smiled sadly, then the bond cannot be completed, and we'll know that the cosmic forces we thought we understood were wrong. Jake looked around the room one more time, taking in the impossible architecture, the star-filled window, the family of beings who claimed to have been waiting for him across the vastness of space. 3 months ago, his biggest decision had been which coffee shop to visit for lunch. Now he was being asked to literally join minds with an alien woman who might be his destined mate. What do I need to do? Zara's smile was radiant. Just take my hand and open your mind. Let go of your fears and preconceptions. Trust me. Jake reached out and grasped Zara's hand. The moment their skin touched, the world exploded into sensation. Colors beyond the human spectrum flooded his vision, and he felt himself falling through layers of consciousness. Like Alice tumbling down the rabbit hole, suddenly, he was seeing through Zara's eyes, experiencing her memories as if they were his own. He saw her childhood on a world of crystal cities and floating gardens, where the sky was purple and 3 moons hung like jewels in the heavens. He felt her loneliness as she grew up, knowing she was destined for someone she'd never met, someone from another world entirely. He experienced her first glimpse of Earth through their monitoring systems, her fascination with human emotion and creativity. He felt her joy when she first heard human music, her amazement at human art, her wonder at the depth of human love stories. Then came the moment she first saw him through their surveillance, sitting alone in the coffee shop, reading a worn paperback novel. He felt her instant recognition, the way her heart had called out to his across the impossible distance of space. He experienced her months of preparation, learning human customs, practicing human speech patterns. Also, she could approach him without causing suspicion, but more than memories. He felt her emotions, the overwhelming love she had for him, deeper and more complex than anything he'd thought possible. It wasn't just romantic love, but something that encompassed admiration, understanding, and a connection that felt as fundamental as gravity. In return, Jake felt his own memories flowing into her consciousness, his lonely childhood as an only child, his struggles with self-doubt, his secret dreams of adventure and meaning beyond his ordinary life. He felt her experience, his love of science fiction, his yearning for something greater, his unconscious search for someone who would understand him completely. Through their merged consciousness, Jake experienced what their potential future could be. He saw glimpses of children who would inherit both human creativity and vegan technology, beings who could bridge the gap between emotion and logic. He saw himself growing old alongside Zara, their minds permanently linked, sharing every joy and sorrow across decades of shared existence. But he also felt the weight of responsibility, the survival of 2 species, the pressure of being part of something larger than himself, the fear of losing his individual identity in the merge. As the melding deepened, Jake began to understand that his fears were groundless. The bond didn't erase individuality, it enhanced it. Through Zara's perspective, he saw himself more clearly than ever before. Through his eyes, she discovered aspects of herself she'd never recognized. Time became meaningless. They might have been connected for minutes or hours. When they finally separated, Jake found himself still holding Zara's hand. But now the connection remained. He could feel her presence in his mind like a warm glow, and he knew she could feel his. "How do you feel?" Lyrale asked softly. Jake looked at Zara, seeing her now with both his own eyes and the lingering memory of her perspective. "I feel complete," he said, surprised by the truth of it. "Like I've been half asleep my entire life and I'm finally waking up." Korthik nodded approvingly. "The bond has accepted you both. You are truly compatible on every level: genetic, emotional, and spiritual." "So what happens now?" Jake asked. Though part of him already knew the answer, Zara's smile was radiant. "Now, if you're willing, we perform the bonding ceremony. It will make our mental connection permanent and begin the process of your physiological adaptation to our species. Adaptation. Your lifespan will extend to match ours, approximately 800 Earth years. Your healing abilities will be enhanced, your mental capacity expanded. You'll retain your humanity. But with significant improvements, Jake thought about his ordinary life, his mundane job, his small apartment. Then he thought about the vast universe he'd just glimpsed through Zara's memories, the possibilities that lay before them. "I accept," he said, his voice steady despite the magnitude of the decision. "I want to be bonded with Zara." The ceremonial bonding ceremony began at midnight, when the alignment of stars was optimal for the ritual. Korthik and Lyrale had transformed the dining room into something that looked like a cross. Between a chapel and a science laboratory, crystalline structures emerged from the floor, creating an intricate pattern around a central dais where Jake and Zara would stand. "The ceremony has been performed for thousands of years," Lyrale explained as she prepared what appeared to be ceremonial garments, flowing robes that seemed to be woven from starlight itself. "But this is the first time we've bonded with a human. You're making history, Jake." Jake slipped into the ceremonial robe, surprised by how it felt almost weightless, yet perfectly fitted. "No pressure, right?" Zara appeared beside him, transformed by her own ceremonial attire. The robe enhanced her natural luminescence, making her look like a being of pure light. "Are you ready for this?" "I've never been more ready for anything in my life," Jake replied. And he meant it. The mind meld had shown him exactly what he'd be gaining: not just a wife, but a true partner in every sense of the word. Korthik took his position at the head of the crystal formation, his hands raised toward the star window. "We begin with the invocation of the cosmos, calling upon the forces that bind all consciousness together across the universe." The crystals began to glow, humming with harmonious frequencies that Jake could feel in his bones. The star window expanded, and Jake realized he was looking at real space somehow. The ceremony was connected to the actual stars overhead. "Jake Morrison of Earth," Korthik intoned, his voice carrying newfound authority. "Do you come to this bonding of your own free will, understanding the responsibilities and privileges it entails?" "I do," Jake replied, his voice stronger than he'd expected. "Zara Velter of Vega, daughter of the noble house of Lyrale, do you offer your consciousness to merge with this human, knowing that your destinies will be forever intertwined?" "I do," Zara replied, her eyes locked on Jake's. Lyrale stepped forward, carrying what looked like a pair of matching bracelets made from the same crystalline material as the room's structures. "These are consciousness bonds," she explained. "They will maintain your mental connection across any distance and allow you to share thoughts, emotions, and even physical sensations." She fastened one bracelet around Jake's wrist, and immediately he felt a warm tingling sensation spreading up his arm. When she placed the matching bracelet on Zara's wrist, the connection between them intensified tenfold. Jake could feel Zara's heartbeat as if it were his own, could sense her joy and nervous excitement as clearly as his own emotions. "Now comes the most important part," Korthik announced, "the exchange of essences." Jake felt a moment of panic. "What does that mean exactly?" "DNA integration," Zara explained, sensing his anxiety through their bond. "A small amount of genetic material will be exchanged between us, allowing our children to be true hybrids and extending your lifespan to match mine." "Is it painful?" "Like getting a vaccination," Lyrale assured him, "but the effects are permanent and profound." The actual exchange involved placing their palms together on a crystalline device that looked like a high-tech scanner. Jake felt a brief stinging sensation, followed by warmth spreading through his entire body. He could sense changes beginning at the cellular level, subtle but unmistakable. "The final step," Korthik announced, "is the declaration of unity." Jake and Zara turned to face each other, hands clasped, their consciousness bonds glowing brightly in the ceremonial light. "I, Jake Morrison, take you, Zara Velter, as my bonded mate across space and time. I promise to share my thoughts, my dreams, and my life with you for as long as consciousness exists in the universe. I, Zara Velter, take you, Jake Morrison, as my bonded mate across space and time. I promise to share my thoughts, my dreams, and my life with you for as long as consciousness exists in the universe." The moment they finished speaking, the entire room erupted in brilliant light. Jake felt his consciousness expand beyond anything he'd experienced during the mind meld. He could sense not just Zara's thoughts, but the vast network of vegan consciousness, spanning the galaxy. For an instant, he touched the minds of millions of beings across dozens of worlds, all connected by the same bonds that now linked him to Zara. When the light faded, Jake found himself forever changed. He could feel the enhanced strength in his body, the expanded capacity of his mind, the permanent connection to Zara that would never fade. But more than that, he felt a sense of purpose he'd never known before. "Welcome to the family," Lyrale said, tears of joy streaming down her face. "Welcome to the greater universe." Jake Morrison, as Jake looked around at his new family, then gazed into Zara's radiant eyes, he realized that his ordinary life had just become the greatest adventure imaginable. He was no longer just a human from Earth, he was part of something vast and wonderful, bonded to a woman who was literally his other half. "So," he said, grinning at Zara, "what do we do for our honeymoon?" "Visit the moons of Jupiter." Zara laughed, the sound like silver bells in the cosmic wind. "Actually, I was thinking we could start with a trip to Vega. I'd like to show you my home world." "Lead the way, Mrs. Morrison," Jake said, pulling her close. "I'm ready for whatever comes next." Through their bond, he felt her love surrounding him like starlight, and he knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, they would face them together, two souls from different worlds, united across the vast expanse of space and time.